My name is Lily Adams. I'm 30 years old, and I'm a financial director for a transportation company. Numbers are my comfort zone. Spreadsheets, forecasts, risk management, things that follow logic. People, on the other hand, people are messy, especially family. I live with my boyfriend, Ethan, who's a software engineer. We've been together for 5 years, and 2 years ago, after countless late nights and weekend overtime, we finally rewarded ourselves with something we used to dream about when we were broke: a luxury apartment. It's bright, airy, full of modern furniture we carefully picked out piece by piece. But my favorite part is the little garden on the balcony. In the mornings, Ethan and I sit out there with our coffee, watching the city slowly wake up. For a long time, that garden felt like proof that we'd made it. Of course, the moment we bought a nice place, it magically became one thing in my family's eyes: the party house. Year-end celebrations? At our place. Thanksgiving? At our place. Christmas, random reunions, let's all meet up? Always at our place. At first, I didn't mind. I actually liked the idea of everyone gathering in a space I was proud of. I liked hosting when I chose it, when I could plan, prepare, and mentally budget for the noise and the cleanup. But somewhere along the way, the line between Lily is kind enough to host and Lily's apartment is basically communal property completely disappeared. And the main reason for that is my younger sister, Emily. Emily is 28, works in the fashion industry, and has the kind of confidence that walks into a room before she does. She's beautiful, charismatic, and absolutely convinced that if she wants something, the world should rearrange itself to give it to her. I love her. I truly do. But she has this talent for making decisions for other people, as if asking is just a cute, optional extra. The real breaking point, though, wasn't this year. It was last year. I still remember that night like a bad movie I paid too much to see. Emily had begged me for a month straight. "Lily, it'll be super small. Just a few close friends. I'll handle everything. You won't have to lift a finger. Please, E," she'd said, clinging to my arm like a kid begging for candy. Against my better judgment, I caved. I told myself, it's her birthday. Be a good sister. How bad can a small party be? So I prepared a few light snacks anyway, just in case. I bought a beautiful cake from her favorite bakery. I even strung up a few fairy lights in the garden to make the place feel cozy. At 7 p.m., the doorbell rang. I smiled, smoothed down my dress, and opened the door, expecting maybe 10 people. Almost 30 filed in. They poured into my apartment like a tidal wave, laughing, shouting, dragging in bags and bottles. Someone immediately blasted EDM music like we were at a club. Another guy helped himself to the beer in my fridge without even asking. A group sprawled across my sofa, shoes on, like it was their personal lounge. I stood there frozen, clutching the door handle. "Emily?" I whispered when she finally breezed in, wearing a glittery dress and zero guilt. She flashed me a huge smile. "Relax, Lily. It's my birthday. Have some fun." Her version of fun turned my home into a war zone. By 9 p.m., people were playing beer pong on my dining table, slamming cups so hard that beer splashed all over the floor and my carpet. Someone accidentally knocked over a stack of brand new plates I had just bought. I heard them shatter in the kitchen like glass thunder. The smell of smoke hit me next. I turned and saw two guys setting up a shisha pipe in the living room. Inside, next to my curtains. "Hey, you can't smoke that in here," I snapped, trying to keep my voice steady. They barely looked at me. One of them shrugged. "Emily said it's fine." Of course she did. My chest burned with anger, but I swallowed it down. I kept thinking, just get through tonight. Just one night. Then never again. And then the doorbell rang again. I opened it and found my next-door neighbor, Mr. William, standing in the hallway. He's in his 60s, always wears turtleneck sweaters, and goes to bed early enough that I'm pretty sure he sees 9:01 p.m. as the middle of the night. "Lily," he said, calm but firm, "can I have a word?" My face was burning with embarrassment. I stepped into the hall, closing the door halfway behind me to muffle the music. "I don't mean to ruin your party," he continued, "but the music is very loud. The building can hear it. Some of the other neighbors have already complained. It's after 9. Maybe you can turn it down a bit?" I wanted the floor to swallow me whole. This apartment was the result of everything Ethan and I had worked for, and now it was the reason the neighbors were talking about us like we were irresponsible teenagers. "I'm so sorry, Mr. William," I said quickly. "I'll take care of it right away." But when I stepped back inside, the very first thing I saw made something in me snap. A random guy I had never seen before was sitting on my kitchen counter, barefoot. His dirty feet were propped up on my table. On my table. That was it. I walked straight into the living room and shut the music off mid-song. The speakers went silent with a sharp click. Every head turned toward me. Someone groaned. Someone else muttered, "What the hell?" Emily marched over, hair wild, eyes blazing. "What are you doing? We haven't even cut the cake yet," she protested. I crossed my arms over my chest, my voice steady in a way that scared even me. "Then take the cake to your place and cut it there. This party is over. Everyone needs to leave, now." The room went awkwardly quiet. People exchanged glances. The barefoot guy slid off my counter. Slowly, reluctantly, they started to shuffle out. Under my glare, Emily didn't have much choice. When the last guest finally left and I closed the door behind them, I turned around and looked at my apartment. Beer soaking into the carpet, the lingering stench of smoke, shards of broken dishes in the kitchen, sticky fingerprints on the walls. It looked like a battlefield. That night, as I scrubbed, vacuumed, and quietly cried in the bathroom, I made myself a promise. Never again. Emily would never host another birthday party in my home. Fast forward to a beautiful Saturday morning, almost a year later. The apartment was quiet. The only sound was the soothing trickle of water from my coffee machine. I wrapped my hands around the warm mug, inhaling the scent, letting my shoulders drop. For the first time in weeks, I felt truly calm. And then the front door flew open. "Lily!" Emily's voice exploded through the apartment before I even had time to blink. She stormed into the kitchen like a tornado wearing perfume, her face glowing with excitement, as if she'd just come from a fashion show where she was the main event. "I have news," she announced, throwing her arms wide. My grip on my mug tightened. "Good morning to you, too," I said dryly. "What happened to knocking?" She rolled her eyes. "We're family. Anyway, listen up." I already had a bad feeling. "I'm throwing my birthday party here," she declared. "This weekend. I already told everyone." I almost dropped my coffee. "I'm sorry, what?" I asked, my voice going dangerously quiet. Emily flicked her hair over her shoulder, her tone full of that familiar, infuriating confidence. "Your place is spacious, the garden is gorgeous, and the kitchen is top tier. It just makes sense. Everyone's used to partying here anyway, so why change it?" From the living room, Ethan glanced up from the couch, where he was flipping through a newspaper. Our eyes met. His expression said it all. "Here we go again." But then he went back to his paper. Neutral. Switzerland. I set my mug down before my hands started shaking and crossed my arms. "Emily, you didn't even ask us," I said, forcing my voice to stay calm. She shrugged, completely unfazed. "What's there to ask? You have no reason to say no. Your place is the biggest. It's perfect. Besides, I already invited everyone, and they're expecting it. If you cancel now, you'll embarrass me." I raised an eyebrow, a bitter laugh caught in my throat. "So let me get this straight," I said slowly. "You decided this on your own, invited everyone to my home without permission, and if I say no, I'm the one embarrassing you?" She pouted, all wounded innocence and stubbornness. "Come on, I know you'll say yes. You don't have to do anything. I'll handle everything. You just open the door and let people in. Easy." Behind her, Ethan pretended to be deeply, deeply fascinated by an article about tax reforms. I shot him a look that said, "Any time you'd like to back me up would be great." He lifted his hands slightly as if to say, "I love you, but I'm staying out of this." I took a slow breath, feeling last year's memory rising in my chest like bile. "Listen carefully, Emily," I said. "You can't just decide something this big on your own. Ethan and I have our own plans. We are not agreeing to this." Her whole body tensed, like a child being told no for the first time. No, you don't get it," she snapped, waving her hands. "You can't say no. I've already planned the menu, ordered the cake, and booked a DJ. If you back out now, you'll ruin everything." My jaw clenched. "How can I back out of something I never agreed to in the first place?" I shot back. She rolled her eyes so hard I thought they might get stuck. "You're overreacting. Do you even realize how important this party is? I got a cake from the best bakery, invited my closest friends, even picked a dress code. You can't be this selfish." Selfish. The word stung more than it should have. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Selfish is planning a whole party in someone else's home without asking them, Emily." She let out a dramatic sigh. "Ugh, you're being so difficult." "Whatever. I have a ton of things to organize. I just came to let you know. Saturday at 7 p.m. Don't make this complicated." And with that, she spun around, pulled out her phone, and started texting furiously as she walked toward the door, probably finalizing the guest list for the party I had just refused to host. When the door closed behind her, the silence in the apartment felt heavy. Ethan took a slow sip of his coffee. "So, how are you planning to handle this?" he asked, voice soft, a hint of amusement in his eyes. My heart was pounding, but my mind was suddenly very clear. I clenched my fists, then slowly relaxed them, a cold little smile tugging at the corner of my lips. Just wait and see, I said. Because this time, I wasn't going to shout, I wasn't going to beg, I wasn't going to clean up the mess. If Emily insisted on treating my home like a stage for her drama, I was going to make sure she had an audience for the consequences too. The next morning, I woke up slowly, wrapped in that hazy comfort between sleep and consciousness. For a moment, everything felt light. The room was dim, Ethan's arm was slung over my waist, and my biggest concern was whether I wanted coffee or 5 more minutes in bed. Then my phone buzzed on the nightstand. Once, twice, then again. I groaned, reached out blindly, and grabbed it without even opening my eyes. The first message on the screen was from my mom. "I'm so excited about Emily's birthday party at your place. How's the preparation going, sweetheart?" I snapped awake. My eyes flew open, and I reread the message 3 times just to make sure I wasn't hallucinating. Preparation. Party at my place. A cold, electric rush shot through my body. I sat up so fast the bed dipped. "Seriously?" I whispered, my voice cracking with anger. Beside me, Ethan shifted, half asleep. What's wrong?" he mumbled, eyes still closed. I didn't answer him. I unlocked my phone fully and opened the family group chat, Family Forever, with a sinking feeling in my stomach. There it was, a string of messages from the night before. "Emily, this weekend is going to be amazing." Emily, "Lily and Ethan's place is perfect, so spacious and gorgeous, and the kitchen is top-notch, Emily. Everyone just come and have fun. Don't worry about anything." My jaw tightened. She hadn't just decided. She had announced it. To everyone, as if my apartment were a hotel she'd booked and paid for herself. "Ethan," I said, my voice sharper now, "wake up. You need to see this." He frowned, forced his eyes open, and pushed himself up on one elbow. I shoved the phone into his hand. He squinted at the screen, read the messages, and then dragged a hand down his face like he'd just aged 5 years in 10 seconds. "Oh, for God's sake," he muttered. I stared at him, waiting, hoping, maybe stupidly, that this would be the moment he'd look me in the eyes and say, "You're right, this is too much. I've got your back." Instead, he let out a long breath and handed the phone back. "I take it you're not going to let this slide," he said quietly. Something in my chest crumpled, then hardened. "Not this time," I replied. I scrolled further up the chat. Emily had been busy. "Emily, I ordered the cake from this famous bakery in town. You guys are going to die when you taste it." Emily, "We're having a DJ too. It's going to be so fun. I want this night to be unforgettable." Emily, "Dress code, white and gold. If you don't dress accordingly, there'll be a penalty." The others replied with excited emojis, jokes, and thumbs-up reactions. Not a single person thought to ask the most basic question. Did Lily agree to this? I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering over the keyboard. I could type it out right now. I said no. There is no party at my place. I could start a fight. I could argue. I could explain every painful detail of last year's disaster. I could try to make everyone understand. But as my heart hammered in my chest, something inside me went quiet. I remembered beer soaking into the carpet, smoke in the curtains, the look on Mr. Williams' face in the hallway last year. I remembered how Emily had promised, "I'll handle everything," and then vanished into the crowd while I cleaned up her chaos. No one had cared about my exhaustion then, or the money I spent fixing damaged things, or the shame of being that apartment in the building. They'd only cared that Emily had a good night. This time I didn't want to explain. This time I wanted consequences. I locked my phone and set it aside on the nightstand. My hands were steady now. "Lily?" Ethan asked, studying my face. "What are you thinking?" I turned to him, the beginnings of an idea forming like a storm gathering on the horizon. "I'm thinking," I said slowly, "that if Emily can make plans without asking me, then so can I." Over the next 4 days, I did something that shocked even me. I said nothing. Emily spammed the family chat with voice notes and pictures of decorations, laughing about playlists, sending screenshots of the cake design. She talked about how excited she was for tonight at Lily and Ethan's. I didn't argue. I didn't correct her. I didn't send a single message to contradict anything she said. Instead, I opened a completely different app, the flight booking one. I sat at the dining table one evening, the soft glow of the pendant lights reflecting off my laptop screen, as I scrolled through photos of turquoise water and overwater villas. Maldives? Ethan asked, leaning against the table, eyebrows raised. Maldives, I confirmed, my finger hovering over the Book Now button. We've been putting off a real vacation for years. Conveniently, the only weekend you're free this month just happens to be the same weekend my sister wants to turn our home into a nightclub again. He huffed out a short laugh. You're really serious about this? I looked up at him. Last year, I begged her to respect our place, I said quietly. She didn't care. She promised she'd keep it small. She lied. I cleaned up broken glass and beer and smoke for days, while she posted party pictures on Instagram. Everyone called it fun. No one asked how I was. For a moment, Ethan just watched me. The teasing dropped from his eyes. Something gentler took its place. And this year, I continued, I told her no. She still went ahead, invited everyone, and tried to guilt-trip me for embarrassing her. Tell me honestly, what else is left for me to try? Another polite conversation? Another explanation she won't listen to? He sighed, rubbed his jaw, then pulled out the chair opposite me and sat down. I won't lie, he said. Watching this play out is going to be intense. Your family's going to freak out. They already think this place belongs to all of them, I replied. Maybe it's time they remember whose name is on the mortgage. I turned the laptop toward him. 2 tickets, Ken, I said. We leave Saturday morning, one day before her party. We turn off the lights, lock every door, set the security system, and let Emily figure out what happens when the hosts don't show up to the party she planned in their home. He stared at the screen for a long beat, then let out a short, disbelieving chuckle. You know what, he said, book it. So I did. The moment I hit confirm, something inside me unclenched. The confirmation email slid into my inbox like a quiet, digital promise. You are leaving. You are not staying to clean up this time. The day before Emily's birthday, the apartment felt different. Not like a future crime scene for once, more like a launch pad. Our suitcases were open on the bed, half filled with light clothes, swimsuits, sunscreen, and the new dress Ethan had convinced me to buy and never wear because there was never an occasion. Now there was. I folded each piece of clothing carefully, feeling a strange sense of satisfaction with every item that disappeared into my suitcase. No wiping down countertops after strangers, no apologizing to neighbors, no waiting up to make sure no one passed out on my sofa. This time, on the night of Emily's birthday, I would be lying under a different sky. When we finished packing, I made one last stop before we left for the airport. I stepped into the hallway and rang Mr. Williams' doorbell. He opened it wearing, as always, a turtleneck, his expression politely curious. Good afternoon, Lily, he said. Everything all right? Yes, I replied, handing him a bottle of wine I'd picked up that morning. I just wanted to say thank you again for being so patient last year, and also to let you know that I'll be away for a few days. His eyebrows rose slightly as he took the bottle. Away? He repeated. During your sister's birthday? I overheard her telling someone in the elevator about a party here. I smiled, but there was a sharp edge to it. There will be no party here, I said. If anyone tries anything, noise, breaking in, hanging around the door, you have my full permission to call the police, especially if it's my sister. For a moment, he just looked at me. Then his lips twitched, the faintest hint of amusement. Seems you've got it all planned out this time, he said. I don't like repeating mistakes, I replied. On the way back to my apartment, my heart was pounding again. But it wasn't fear anymore. It was adrenaline, relief, a new kind of strength. Ethan and I wheeled our suitcases to the door, did one last check, stove off, windows locked, security system armed. I glanced at the living room one final time. Last year, this had been the battlefield I was forced to clean. This year, it was just home, silent, safe, off limits. We stepped out, locked the door, and walked away. On the ride to the airport, my phone buzzed with messages from Emily. Emily. Just confirmed the DJ. Emily. Cake's going to be delivered at 6 p.m. sharp to your place. Emily. Lily, pick something nice in white and gold, okay? I want good pictures with my big sis. I looked at the screen, then at the slowly shrinking cityscape outside the taxi window. For a brief second, guilt stabbed through my chest. Then I remembered the smell of smoke, the broken plates, the way she'd looked me in the eye last year and said, "Relax, it's my birthday," while I picked shattered porcelain out of the sink. I put my phone face down on my lap. If Emily insisted on treating my boundaries like a joke, then the punchline was about to be hers. By the time Emily's birthday night arrived, Ethan and I were thousands of miles away, lying on white sun loungers beneath the fading Maldives sunset, the sky streaked with coral pink and lavender. The ocean was calm. A warm breeze brushed my skin. The scent of coconut and salt water drifted in the air. For the first time in months, maybe years, I felt untouchably at peace. Then my phone started vibrating. Once, twice, again. A rapid-fire assault of notifications. Ethan glanced over from his travel book, raising an eyebrow. "Do we want to check that?" he asked. "Oh, I already know who it is," I sighed, sliding my sunglasses down to look at the screen. 23 missed calls. 17 new messages. All from Emily. I tapped the latest one. Emily. "Lily, where are you?" Emily. "I'm at your door with everyone and it's locked." Emily. "Stop messing around. Open it now." Emily. "People are waiting outside." Emily. "If this is a joke, it's not funny." I felt the corners of my lips curve upward. I opened my security camera app, and there it was. I angled the screen so I could see clearly. The camera feed loaded, and the sight that appeared made me let out a soft, dark chuckle. A crowd of about 15 people, all dressed in white and gold, clustered awkwardly in front of my apartment door. Emily stood at the center in a sparkling white dress, her hair perfectly curled, makeup flawless, except now her expression was contorted with frustration so intense she could have melted her own birthday candles. Some guests were shifting uncomfortably, checking their phones. A couple of her friends were hugging themselves for warmth. The hallway AC can be brutal. One guy was holding an oversized birthday cake box, looking like he desperately wanted to put it down before his arms gave out. "Oh, wow," Ethan murmured, leaning in. "She really went all out, didn't she?" "Wait for it," I said softly. Emily turned directly to my apartment door, grabbed the knob, and yanked it. Of course it didn't budge. She yanked again, and again, then kicked the bottom of the door in irritation like a child throwing a tantrum. "You can't bully a deadbolt, Emily," I thought to myself. I zoomed the camera in a little. Her face was pink with rage now as she spun around, shouting something I couldn't hear. Then came the moment that made Ethan nearly spit out his drink. One of the guys, tall, wearing gold-rimmed sunglasses indoors, stepped forward. He nodded at her, set down a small bag, and crouched in front of the lock. "Oh no," I whispered, amused horror tightening my chest. "He's not—" "Oh, he is," Ethan said. From the bag, the guy took out, no exaggeration, a little lockpicking kit. He inserted a tool into the keyhole and began fiddling with it like he'd done this before. Emily crossed her arms, tapping her heel impatiently. My mouth fell open. "Are you serious right now?" I muttered to no one. Then I quickly tapped through the app and switched to camera 2, the hallway angle. Just in time to see Mr. Williams' apartment door swing open. There he was, arms crossed, turtleneck sweater. Expression, unimpressed grandpa, who just caught a group of teenagers trying to sneak into the neighbor's house. "Oh, here we go," Ethan said, grinning. It took maybe 10 minutes. The lockpick was still failing spectacularly. Emily was pacing. Her friends were clearly debating whether staying was worth it. Then, a patrol car pulled into view on the building's exterior camera. My eyebrows shot up. "Fast response time tonight," I murmured. 2 officers got out and entered the building. On camera 1, I saw Emily freeze mid-rant as the officers approached her group. Immediately, her entire demeanor changed from spoiled diva mid-tantrum to innocent deer caught in headlights. Several of her friends shuffled away from the guy with the toolkit, pretending they'd never met him. He scrambled to shove the tools back into his bag. One officer pointed out the door, clearly asking questions. Emily started gesturing wildly, hand over her chest, then toward the door, then to her friends as if she were performing a dramatic monologue. But the officer shook his head. Another gestured toward the elevator. The message was unmistakable. "Leave, all of you, now." "Oh my God," Ethan whispered. "This is... wow." I lifted my glass, clinked it gently against his. "To natural consequences," I said. He laughed. "I'm dating a mastermind. I'm dating someone who watched this all happen last year and still thinks this surprises him." We sat back, watching, as the group dispersed. Some looked annoyed, some embarrassed. A few were definitely rethinking their friendship with my sister. Emily was the last to leave. She stood there, alone, glaring at my door, like she wished she could burn a hole through it. Finally, she stomped her heel, spun on it, and stormed off with the grace of an angry duck. The camera feed went silent as the hallway emptied. I set my phone down on the little drink table and inhaled deeply, letting the ocean breeze fill my lungs. For the first time in so long, I felt free. No chaos, no shouting, no cleaning, no pretending. Just me, Ethan, and the sound of waves brushing the shore under the moonlight. The next morning, I woke up in our overwater bungalow, sunlight shimmering across the sea through the glass panes in the floor. Ethan was still asleep beside me, one arm thrown over his forehead. I slipped out of bed quietly, stretching lazily before grabbing my phone. 42 new messages from Emily. I clicked the latest one. Emily. You embarrassed me in front of everyone. Emily. We ended up eating cake at a random cafe like idiots. Emily. Do you know how humiliated I was? Emily. You're the worst sister ever. Emily. Just wait until Mom hears about this. I leaned on the balcony railing, overlooking the turquoise water. The Maldives was breathtaking, smooth, quiet, lean, everything Emily's parties were not. And at that moment, I felt a strange combination of amusement, relief, and a pinch of guilt. Only a pinch. I scrolled down. Emily, I hope you're happy. Emily, I'm never speaking to you again. Ethan's sleepy voice drifted over from the bed. Is she still alive? Alive, yes. Dramatic, definitely. He groaned. We should have brought popcorn. I laughed softly, because deep down I knew this wasn't over. Emily had only just begun to unsubscribe from reality, and the rest of my family was about to follow. The Maldives sun was warm on my skin, the waves whispering against the stilts of our bungalow. If peace had a sound, it would be this, soft, gentle, uninterrupted. At least until my phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't Emily. It was Mom. I stared at the screen for a moment, already knowing exactly how this conversation would go. I sighed, pressed accept, and held the phone to my ear. Hi, Mom. Lily Adams, what have you done? I flinched and held the phone slightly away as her voice blasted through like a hurricane. Good morning to you, too, I muttered, rubbing my temple. Don't you sass me, she snapped. Emily is in tears. She said you ruined her birthday. She said you locked your door and left. Is that true? I closed my eyes for a slow, calming breath. Yes, Mom, I said, voice steady. It's true. How could you do this to your own sister? Her voice cracked with disappointment. Everyone stood outside for hours. I heard it, the silent expectation behind her words. Fix it. Apologize. Be the bigger person. Be the older sister who makes peace no matter what it costs you. Not this time. Mom, I said plainly, I told Emily I wasn't hosting her party. Mom scoffed. She said she didn't hear any clear no from you. That's because she didn't listen, I replied, patience thinning. I said no multiple times. She ignored me and invited everyone anyway. Mom let out a frustrated sigh. Even if that's true, Lily, you should have at least warned her before disappearing. She looked ridiculous in front of her friends. My jaw tightened. Ah, there it was. Not concern about my boundaries. Not outrage at Emily's entitlement. Not even a hint of, are you okay? Just, you embarrassed your sister. I felt anger simmer beneath my ribs. Mom, I said, voice low, did Emily tell you about last year? Silence. I continued anyway. Did she tell you how 30 people trashed my apartment? How strangers smoked shisha inside my living room? How my neighbor had to complain because the music was shaking the walls? Did she tell you how many plates were broken? How long I spent cleaning stains from the carpet? How embarrassed I was when the building manager called me the next day? Mom didn't speak. Finally, she let out a faint, weak sigh. That was just one time. One time was enough, I said sharply. Another pause, then softer. She's your sister, Lily. She only has one birthday a year. Did you have to go that far? I felt something inside me shift, like a rope snapping after being pulled too tight for too long. Mom, I said quietly with crystal clarity, Emily is 28. She doesn't get to bulldoze my boundaries and then cry when reality doesn't match her fantasy. She made her choice, and I made mine. Mom's voice wavered. I don't want this to drive a wedge between you two. I closed my eyes, letting the breeze wash over me. It won't, I said. Not if she respects me. But if she keeps treating my home and my time like they belong to her, then yes, there will be distance. Mom exhaled shakily. I don't want to argue anymore, she murmured. Just come home safely. I will, I replied. When the call ended, I lowered the phone and looked out at the bright, shimmering water. For the first time, I didn't feel guilty for standing up for myself. I felt free. As if on cue, my phone buzzed again, this time relentlessly. Family Forever group. 37 new messages. I braced myself and opened the chat. It was a digital riot. Aunt Lisa. Lily, how could you do that to your sister? She was humiliated. Aunt Sarah. As the older sister, you should have been more understanding. Uncle Robert. What you did was harsh and unnecessary. Family means compromise. Cousin Jake. People came expecting a party and stood outside like idiots. You should have warned her at least. Aunt Nancy. It was just a party, Lily. Why make it so dramatic? I stared at the messages, feeling something cold and heavy settle in my chest. Not one person asked if I was okay. Not one acknowledged that I had said no. Not one asked about last year's disaster. To them, I was a villain for not letting Emily use me. My message to the family. Me. Everyone, let me make one thing clear. I told Emily I was not hosting her party. She ignored me, invited everyone anyway, and made decisions for me without permission. Don't blame me for a plan she forced without consent. The chat paused. Messages read. No one replied yet. I wasn't done. Me. Last year, I let her host her birthday at my place. Do you know what happened? 30 people showed up. My carpet was ruined. Strangers smoked inside my home. Dishes were broken. The neighbor complained. And I spent a week cleaning, all while Emily partied and left without helping. More dots appeared, typing, stopping, typing again. Me. I refused to go through that again. Emily didn't ask. She decided. Her embarrassment is the result of her choices, not mine. I hit send. The silence afterward was louder than the argument had been. Finally, Aunt Lisa. Oh, I didn't know last year was that bad. Aunt Sarah. If that's true, Emily was wrong. But Lily, you should have explained sooner. But then, Uncle Robert. Regardless, you're the older one. You should be the bigger person. Cousin Jake. Leaving your sister outside on her birthday? Cold. Real cold. Some distant aunt whose name I always forget. It was just a party, Lily. You didn't need to overreact. I stared at the screen. That heavy feeling lifted, because I realized something profound. They didn't actually care about the truth. They cared about the convenience of the narrative. Lily is responsible. Emily is the baby. Lily should adapt. Emily should get her way. I had played that role for years, and I was done. I pressed and held the chat name, scrolled to the bottom. Leave group. A small confirmation popped up. I tapped it. Just like that. Lily Adams has left the group. A breath left my chest, a long, freeing, cleansing exhale. I set my phone down, leaned back in the deck chair, and looked at the wide, open sea. No buzzing messages, no guilt, no pressure to fix anything. Just quiet. Just peace. Just me. Slowly, deliberately, I began typing. Ethan stepped out onto the balcony a moment later, holding 2 glasses of fresh mango juice. All done? He asked, handing me one. I took it, smiling. Completely done. He raised a brow. How? I shrugged. I left the group. He burst out laughing, then lifted his glass toward mine, to finally escaping the family circus. We clinked glasses. And for the first time in a very long time, I felt genuinely, entirely, unapologetically happy. We returned home from the Maldives 3 days later, sun-kissed, relaxed, and carrying that floaty post-vacation peace that makes even the airport security line feel tolerable. As Ethan unlocked our apartment door, I took a long, deep breath. Home. For once, it didn't feel like a stage waiting for the next family disaster. It felt like mine again. We had barely stepped inside, literally not even 5 minutes, when the doorbell rang. Not a gentle ring, not a polite ding-dong. No. It was the desperate, furious pounding of someone who believed the world owed them answers immediately. Ethan didn't say a word. He shot me a look, half sympathy, half good luck, babe, and quickly disappeared into his office with the speed of a man avoiding a grenade. I rolled my eyes and opened the door. There she was, Emily, in all her post-party meltdown glory. Her makeup was gone, her eyes were red and puffy, her hair was pulled into a messy bun that screamed, "I haven't slept since my reputation died." She shoved past me without waiting for an invitation. "You were beyond out of line, Lily," she practically screamed the moment she stepped inside. I closed the door calmly, taking my time. I'd never seen her so furious. Not even last year when I shut down her disaster of a party. I leaned against the counter, folded my arms, and waited. She spun around, jabbing a finger at me. "Do you have any idea how humiliated I was? My friends all think I'm an idiot. They think I planned a party without even knowing if the host would be there." I tilted my head. "Well, yes, because that's exactly what you did." Her jaw dropped. "Are you seriously not even going to apologize?" "For what?" I asked, genuinely curious. For this," she gestured wildly. "For disappearing, for locking the door, for making everyone stand outside like fools, for making me look bad." Her voice cracked on the last word. There it was, the truth she couldn't hide. She didn't care about me. Not about my boundaries, not about my home, not about last year's cleanup or the neighbor complaints. She only cared that she looked bad. I took a slow, deliberate breath. Emily, I said softly, let me ask you something. Who embarrassed who? You planned a whole event in someone else's home without permission. You invited people without asking. You booked a DJ, ordered a cake, told the family, and even made a dress code. And when I said no, you ignored me. She opened her mouth, but I held up a hand. And then, when you showed up to a locked door, you tried to break in. Her cheeks flushed. That wasn't me. That was... You asked your friend to do it, I corrected. I saw it on the camera. She froze. You tried to pick my lock, I repeated, letting the weight of those words settle between us. Do you understand how insane that is? Emily's face contorted. Anger, embarrassment, confusion, all churning together. You're being ridiculous, she muttered. No, I said quietly. For the first time, I'm not. A flicker appeared in her eyes, vulnerability, recognition, shame. For one heartbeat, she didn't look like the self-proclaimed queen of her friend group. She looked like my little sister again, the one who used to crawl into my room after nightmares, who asked me to braid her hair before her first school dance, who begged me to come to her fashion shows even when I was drowning in deadlines. My chest tightened for a split second. But then she lifted her chin stubbornly, shoving every trace of humility deep down where it could never threaten her ego again. You could have handled it better, she said. I exhaled slowly. Emily, I tried handling it better, last year, and it didn't matter. You did what you wanted anyway. She scoffed, crossing her arms. You're impossible. And you're entitled, I replied gently. She flinched like I'd slapped her. You think you're so perfect, she spat. Well, guess what? People talk. The family is furious. Everyone thinks you're cold and selfish. I noticed, I said calmly. That's why I left the group chat. You what? Now Emily looked genuinely shocked, almost betrayed. You left? The family chat? The family chat? I did, I said, because I'm tired of being lectured for not catering to someone who doesn't respect me. If that makes me the villain, then fine. She stared at me, eyes wide, breath shaking. Then her expression hardened like concrete. Fine, she whispered. If that's how you want it, I won't bother you again. She marched to the door, yanked it open, and stormed out without a second glance. The door slammed, silence settled like dust. I stood there, arms crossed, heart pounding, not with guilt, but relief. Pure, unfiltered relief. Emily didn't call, didn't text, didn't show up to family events. It was the quietest my life had been in years. At first, the silence felt strange, like a room missing familiar furniture. But as days stretched into weeks, that quiet turned soothing, comfortable, peaceful. I had space to think, to breathe, to exist without someone else's demands choking my time. But occasionally, on slow mornings or quiet evenings, I wondered, was I too harsh? Could I have explained better? Could this have gone differently? Maybe, maybe not. Because the truth is, I had tried. For years. Patient explanations, gentle boundaries, compromises that always bent in her favor. And Emily never changed. Sometimes, the only way to make someone understand a boundary is to show them what happens when they cross it. My final thoughts. I know not everyone will agree with what I did. Some people will say I should have sucked it up for family, that avoiding conflict is better than exploding it, that I should have been the bigger person. But here's what I learned. Being the bigger person does not mean being a doormat, and keeping the peace should not come at the cost of your own dignity. So now I ask you, if you were in my shoes, would you have given in to keep the family happy, or would you have done exactly what I did and finally drawn the line? I genuinely want to know. Thank you for following my story. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what happens next.